Howdy.
Greetings. Hello, everybody out there. Good after morning or noon, wherever it is that you happen to be
Might
tuning in
be
from.
might be 3 a.m. in the morning.
Yes. Thank you for joining us. Some of you are live with us, and I know some of you may be watching us on YouTube. So, again, welcome. One of our pieces of technology that we have available here in the ATEC Center. What do we
That's
have?
the yeah. So the ATEC Center here started a little history here for you. We started this back in October. The process of getting contracts with the state to do assistive technology evaluations, and really what that is if someone's a customer of Texas Workforce, their vocational goals to either go to school or to become employed, their counselor would likely send them for an evaluation on assistive technology. Now, for a long time, the only evaluation centers in Texas were in Austin, San Antonio, or Houston. So if someone was coming from North Texas, they'd have to get transportation, paid, either fly or bus down to Austin, spend the night, stay in a hotel, go for their evaluation, and then come back. So that's a lot of expense for the state and just a kind of a hassle for the customer. And so now that we have the evaluation center here in North Texas, we'll be able to have people come from Dallas-Fort Worth area and beyond and get their evaluations done and return home same day in most cases.
Yeah, so we're definitely filling a niche here, would you say?
Right. So we have a good size 40 by 40 foot room here that was built, and we have just about everything you can imagine, from braille displays to desktop OCR devices like this one.
Yes, I like this one indeed. So today what we're going to feature is the Topaz OCR made by Freedom Scientific. It's a really very snazzy device, very helpful. And we're not going to do a deep dive on this because there's certainly a lot of bells and whistles to be sure. But we thought we'd give you a little sample to help you kind of learn a little bit about what we have here, what's available in our center. Actually, we have multiple devices very similar, kind of in the same family here, right, Sean?
Yeah. So this row alone, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 10 different desktop OCR devices, or 10 different desktop magnifiers. So.
And some of them have a combination of speech output.
Some do, some don't. It's just it's definitely a wide selection.
Yeah, I almost kind of compare it to when you go to buy a car. Every car has got its own pluses and minuses, its own amenities or bells and whistles, and not everybody needs certain things or looking for a particular feature, but
so you might want a Ford or you might want a Mercedes.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And there may be some low vision folks out there watching us and listening. Um, and there's certainly different degrees of magnification that's more viable than others. For example, a hand magnifier may not be up to snuff to meet your magnification needs. Although I think a lot of times those can be helpful for spot reading. When you're out in the grocery store, right, and you're looking for something, a sales price, maybe a video magnifier or a handheld lighted magnifier can be appropriate for that. However, the Topaz is not one such device. It's not mobile. It's what would we call it, a desktop?
Yeah, a desktop magnifier, and just the sense that you wouldn't move this around. It would be on a desk. It would stay there. It's probably a good, I don't have the exact specs, but I would say around 40 pounds.
You might need a forklift to lift it. I don't know.
It's bulky. It's pretty bulky.
It's pretty bulky. Yeah, it's one of those types that when you get it in a place, you leave it there. And it's also good to make sure that you have a good sturdy desk to put it upon. Card table, for example, is not probably going to be supportive of something.
No. And it's got a really large screen on it. It's probably a good 24-inch display. It's high definition. The cameras are high definitions. basically all desktop all video magnifiers, as they're really referred to today, are all HD, both camera
HD.
and screen. So
Both camera and screen, right? I did notice that on this one in particular, there are underneath the tray here, kind of it's recessed on the side, so you can put your hands underneath it to lift it. But certainly, again, you want to probably make sure that you're gonna put it where it belongs and leave it there for the most part. But all that aside, so why don't we just kind of briefly just go over how this device is set up. CCTV generally, you've got a monitor, and they kind of vary in size. There's a camera attached underneath the monitor, and then there's a base to which that's attached to. And underneath the monitor and the camera is a tray, a few inches below. And on that tray is where you put print or other items. And then through the camera, it appears on the screen, and then you can make items larger or smaller or change the contrast to suit your visual needs. So that's kind of a very basic overview of CCTVs in general. They've been around for quite a while, haven't they, Sean?
oh yeah, all the way back to the we call them the tube TVs.
Tube TVs, yes.
And they were definitely a lot heavier.
Right. We don't want to bore you with the exciting history of CCTVs, but there are. I know when I was in college, I had one, and it was very much like a tube TV, where it was most of it was just the TV part of it made up most of the CCTV feature. But now they've gotten a lot more streamlined. Although Topaz, like you said, it is a little heavier because it has a few other moving parts. All right, so let's start off here. We have a monitor here. And what would you estimate the size of this monitor is, Sean?
I'm guessing about 24 inch.
24 inches. That's a fairly good sized monitor. There are an array of buttons here underneath the monitor. And if you start over here at the far right, there's actually a switch that you can click. I clicked it over to the left, and some of you may notice that there is a light that has come on underneath, shining on the tray below. And now the monitor is now on. Okay. I have here, I think this is the instruction booklet, right, Sean?
I think you're right.
Oh, look at that.
What's that beeping sound there?
Maybe it's
not going to explode, is it?
I hope not. I'm pretty close to it. So I don't want to get into CCTV shrapnel embedded. So this one I've noticed it does take about a minute for it to load.
Mm-hmm.
So be patient with it.
And so since this is an OCR device, there are a lot of more moving parts.
That is true.
It's basically a built-in computer
scanner.
Mm-hmm.
You just make a really cool chime when it's ready. Oh, right. That's very, very, very cool. All right, so that chime lets me know that it's ready to do what it's going to do. So what is it going to do? So first, we're going to talk about magnification, okay? So if I'm facing this as I am now, we're going to start over here. I'm going to describe these buttons, and then we'll show you what they do when I put some print material on the screen. But over here on the left is the brightness button. Okay, brightness button. So that will change the brightness of the image on the screen. Then to the right of that is going to be our size, our knob for size, because these knobs, by the way, when you turn them right or left, it will adjust the image. And then on the far right is going to be the color contrast, because color contrast is very important for a lot of folks, especially for me when I was younger and I could see better. There are a few other features we'll talk about in a minute with magnification. I think this is the manual which Sean and I rarely read. We just kind of make this up as we go
Yeah,
along.
we just, we don't, guys don't
That's
read the manual.
that's what real professionals do in this field. We're kidding a little bit. All right.
And that tray moves around.
It does move. It's adjustable. You can slide it up or down, and when you do, the image on the screen will track. So if I move it over to the left more, it's going to get more of the image in the screen. That's what when I could see when I was more of a low vision CCTV user, I would put a book underneath there, and just how you would read from left to right, I would move that tray into the left and then to the right to read a sentence or two, to read an image. So I'm going to put that back mid-center though. And I have an image on the screen right now. And so we're going to go through a few of these features on here. Starting again over here on the far left, we've got our brightness button, okay, or knob rather. So if I go to the left, it's going to make that image darker. Okay, I'll go a few more. You may notice it on the screen perhaps, but we are darkening the image. Okay. Now if I go to the right, it's going to make it brighter. Earlier, one of my coworkers said, said right. Remember, right, bright. So right makes it bright. So the image is getting brighter. That may be appropriate for some people, who need to make the image brighter. Because each person is low vision. No one person sees the exact same way as the other person, right, Sean?
Right. The contrast, the colors, being able to change that in detail is what's going to be helpful.
That's what the beautiful thing about this is you can customize it. You can make it in what you will. Another feature on this brightness button is actually on the knob, in front of the knob, connected to it is a button. If you click it, it'll zoom out, hold it down, and the image will zoom out so you can see the whole page, and then it'll let it go and it'll zoom back in, so that way you can get a fuller view of the image. Rebecca, did it do that? Okay. Did it do that? Okay. All right. So that just kind of gives you the whole picture image. Then you can zoom back in. Speaking of zooming, over here on the middle to the right is our zoom knob. Now, I had mentioned this earlier, but each one of these knobs, I think they're color contrasted, right, Sean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the button on the left, what color is that? But you said yellow. Yellow,
Yellow, red, and blue.
Yellow, red, and blue.
The buttons colors actually on that.
Yeah. So again, that's very appealing to our low vision users out there. Contrast is everything. What I've noticed too is with the zoom feature, if you go to the right, it's going to make the image larger.
Yeah. So
and then you can make that. I think the magnification level, I would imagine, it could be pretty large if one wanted.
Yeah, there's 16 levels of magnification.
16 levels of magnification.
You're going to start, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think once you get up around 10, it starts going in twos. But anything above 12, you're probably not going to use.
Yeah, and sometimes, I've made this comment before, and maybe it's reiterated it. Not bigger isn't always better. Because sometimes with CCTVs and magnifiers, if you're only looking at one letter at a time on a screen, then that can be a little counterproductive, right? Take you longer to read something. But there's a feature on here that can help with that. We'll get to that shortly. Also, with the zoom knob, if you click it, it has what do we call that?
It's a freeze frame.
Freeze frame. Freeze frames. I can click that. I can zoom in on something, and then I can click it, and the image will stay stationary. It won't move, even if I attempt to move the magnification, change it, or even move the
the
tray. Right.
Tray, right.
Right. Still stays on the screen. And I've also found that feature helpful on the handheld versions as well.
Yeah. So one of the examples I always hear with the handhelds is, you find a phone number maybe on the refrigerator, and you freeze frame it and then take it over to the phone and call the number. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And those features are particularly helpful in the grocery store. But of course, with Topaz, you don't know that the grocery store
Not sure that
wouldn't be mobile enough for that. But those certainly be more appropriate if you're wanting to read your mail, or maybe there's a book perhaps that you would want to read.
Arts and crafts are popular.
Yes, right. I've known of people who actually have done sewing with these.
Yeah, I've heard of people doing their nails, like painting their nails underneath there.
Really?
Yeah. That's
pretty creative. Medication bottles come to mind. Actually, I have one over here I'll show you shortly. A lot of features. It's the thing about this type of technology. What I've always loved about it is how the person, just from a teacher standpoint, you give them a tool like this, and you can start to see the wheels turning. As they start thinking about, oh, I could use it for this. Oh, I can use it for that. Oh, what about this? So this definitely allows you to explore what you can do with it. I'm going to get it off freeze frame here. Click that button again in the center of the zoom knob. Rebecca, am I off of freeze frame? All right.
Let's go to
the last button. Yes. This is what do we call this earlier, Sean? Was this
color?
Color contrast. All right. So this one is really helpful. Back when I was a struggling college student, back in my youth,
that was a long time ago,
in a college far, far away. I used CCTVs quite a bit, and the one thing I always liked was that contrast feature, changing, making it to the contrast to let me see it better. I would make the background black and the text white, and that always popped for me. But everyone's different. So right now, I think we are on the live setting. Is that what we're on, Miss Rebecca? Okay. I'm going to go through a few of these here. Each one's different. We got black. We got blue, blue background with white text. Yellow. Changing the contrast again. This one has a variety of maybe you're already seeing, or as we're describing.
Yeah, so it's got five presets, and then I think a maximum of 22 different colors. But
22 different colors.
Those are more advanced features. Just saying that you can customize beyond the presets.
That's kind of more of a deeper dive,
right?
But today we're focusing on the majors, as I often like to say. You major on the majors and minor on the minors. So we have another feature there, another color contrast. Some people, I've noticed, they like the black background with the yellow text. That helps. And of course, we always have the feature that it's the black background.
Yeah. Then there's a normal
setting. Rebecca, what setting are we on now? All right, black with white. All right. All right. So those are just a few of the features, and like Sean said, they're very customizable. It's one of those features where you can sit there in front of it and adjust it to where you find that sweet spot for your vision. There's also a button here that you can click when it comes to the contrast knob. And what it does is it puts on the screen lines. So now you may be seeing lines on the screen. Are there lines on the screen, Rebecca? So these lines on the screen, what that can be helpful for is if you got, let's say, you have a piece of blank paper, computer paper, and you want to write on it some information like a grocery list, right? Those lines can help you be, able to write in a straight line. So those are a few features there. I'm going to get out of that. All right, so just a few features there. I wonder what might we do if we can't see it. Maybe we're having a bad vision day. You ever had a bad vision day before, Sean?
Right, or maybe you like having the contrast of being able to read it and listen to it.
Listen to it. Absolutely. So this is called a Topaz OCR. OCR standing for Optical Character Recognition. Optical character recognition. And the long and short of that is basically there's a software built into this device that takes a picture of the document, right, Sean?
Right.
And then scans it and reads it to you aloud. And what's really cool with the Topaz is actually there's a touch screen.
Position the text inside the window and tap the screen.
A touch screen feature, which I just touched in the bottom right corner. If I were to touch it with my finger, it would put it in OCR mode. And I think it said center the text in the middle of the screen, which there already is. So by touching that sweet spot right there at the bottom right corner of the screen, it puts it in OCR. And then I could just take my finger and I could tap once on the screen. Maybe some of you iPhone users out there, instead of like a double tap, it's more like a single tap, perhaps. And now actually take a picture of it.
Emma voice. In the settings menu opens a list with all exclamation point able for that language appear on the screen. 3. Tap any voice to check my reading voice. In I, no check N as a readding voices were. Options, settings the options menu, text recall, automatic detection text recognition use this option to, optimal. TH recognition, fast. Use F mode as up activate speech use this option TC bottom right corner.
So I scanned a page of the manual, and what I've noticed with this is actually there are some aren't there some touch screen buttons here at the bottom?
Yeah, so you can adjust the speech rate and the volume.
So it's for, again, some of you iPhone users out there, it's kind of similar, different but similar. So what I do is I take my finger and I tap down here at the very bottom edge of the screen. Yeah.
Volume up.
There's the volume up button, so I'm touching it. I'm just tapping it once. And
volume up.
Tapping over to the right of that, and tap over to the left of that.
Volume up. Volume down.
I can go further over to the left if I wanted to.
Volume down.
Let's see. Go over to the right of where's volume.
Volume down. Volume up.
Also, I think you can increase the speed.
Yeah.
Volume up.
Speed
down.
There we go.
Speed down. Speed down. Speed down.
So if you wanted to read slower, right, as it's scanning and reading the document, you can do that.
Speed down.
And Sean and I, we're more speed readers.
Speed up.
Most of that has to do with JAWS. The years of using a screen reader. There are maybe a couple of other features as well. So I do find that there's a pretty high degree of accuracy, right, Sean, with the OCR?
Yeah, and any OCR it's very dependent on lighting, the shading of the paper, and it's not. Don't think of it that it's going to be 100%. I mean, it might. If you get 95% accuracy with OCR, that's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, it's it does well, but it's not flawless. You might have even noticed there were a few words that got kind of chopped off a little bit. So
Yeah, and sometimes if you do a redo, maybe it can help get the image better.
yeah,
But
yeah,
it's rare that you ever get 99% accuracy.
yeah. That's not realistic.
Yeah, and when I was in college, I had to scan many college textbooks in my Kurzweil scanner.
Yeah, it's kind of like they say, reading by context.
Yes,
Sometimes
right.
you're like, oh, I think I know what that word is.
Yeah, fill in the blank. But certainly 95% is well enough to know at least what something is. Especially if you're going to be sorting your mail and identifying other items on the screen. Now, one thing to keep in mind is right now it is still on OCR mode. And if I wanted to, I could flip the page of this book, put it on the next page, and then line it up, and then I could tap the screen. I believe I can tap the screen again. Let's see here.
Topaz on. Position the text inside the window and tap the screen.
Okay. I tap the lower right to put it into OCR. Tap the screen again. Take a picture. I'm just basically just touching with my finger. A single finger touch or tap. Yeah, this one turns out.
Contains 2 settings.
Wow. There wasn't a lot of content on that page, was there?
Yeah, that's a page of many words there.
Short and to the point. If you may be wondering, well, okay, so right now it's in OCR mode, but how would I get it from OCR mode back to magnification mode? The way you do that is you take your finger, and if you want to find like the bottom right corner of the outside of the frame of the monitor, touch your finger to the glass there, and it will put you back into magnification mode. And you'll know that you're back in that because it'll say Topaz.
Topaz on.
Topaz on in this case. So now it's back to the magnification mode. So all these features here on the bottom below the monitor, all these 3 knobs from left to right, we got brightness, magnification, and the far right we have color contrast.
And of course we have the power switch.
Power switch, right. It's very important. Yes, power switch is very important. This also, if I recall, it does take a little bit of assembly out of the box, as Sean and I had discovered.
Yep.
There are some wires to be connected.
So it's probably a good place to see if we got any questions.
Certainly. Yes. Yes, thank you. We always forget that, don't we?
No, we do.
How long have we been doing this?
Yeah. So if you're on the computer, you want to raise your hand, it's Alt Y. If you're dialed in via phone, it's *9. And then on an iPad or iPhone, it's bottom right corner, go to More, and then choose option to raise your hand. So, sure.
All right. Any questions out there? Question.
Okay. What's that? Oh, no. So the cost of this device is a grand total of $38.95, not the $38.95 either.
No.
It's got the other 2 zeros.
Yeah, there's other 2 zeros involved. That's the standard price. So in some cases, people who have cases with the state sometimes can find some assistance with that.
Oh, of course. I mean, you have vocational programs that buy them for employment, vocational, going to school, that kind of thing, and even the OIB program.
Yeah, older individuals who are blind.
Yeah.
Well, they have the state funding to allow for that. We also, here at the Lighthouse, we actually have a loaner CCTV program, which we have had for many years now.
Right.
Quite popular.
So with the loaner CCTVs we get, we reloan back out to the community, make sure they work, and clean them up and everything. But
yes,
we have I think we have 140 loaner CCTVs out right now.
yeah,
And then one other resource, I'm not as familiar with this organization, but they're called Site Savers. And I've recently heard that they're actually doing, they'll even do Braille displays now. So
really,
yeah, so
Braille
you might want to
displays.
Google them, find out their contact information. They're nationwide.
Fantastic. That's a great resource. We'll include that in the wrap-up email here at the end of the week, that information.
So anybody got any questions?
Questions or comments? Again, it's not a deep dive. That Sean mentioned there are some other features on here as well, but certainly I think this gives you kind of just a big picture of what it's capable of doing. I even noticed that there was an HDMI feature on here. Isn't there, Sean?
Yeah, so a couple things here. You can connect this to a computer. You can actually get it where you have a split screen, where you have your computer on one side of the screen and the document you're looking at on the other. There's also a memory card where you can save scanned OCR, scanned files too. And so yeah, there's some things we're not even as familiar with yet, but they are definitely options.
Absolutely. And in the meanwhile, if anyone has any questions, we will certainly be available to help. We are doing a lot more training via phone or virtually, although not in person. But we certainly can provide technical support at a minimum. And if you have questions about technology or independent living, Sean and I will be happy to help you in whatever way we can.